How does Green Lantern start a race? Ready, set, glow. What's going on? You made it to Comic Book Editions Volume 265. Welcome. I'm very glad that you're here. Can you believe it's December already? It's even snowed twice here where I live. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm over it. Not a fan of snow. Put the no in snow is what I say. I've got some great DC Comics and all DC Comics haul in today's video that I'm going to share with you that I'm excited that you're here for. Let's get it kicked off right now. And doing so is an NYCC 2025 exclusive from Leirix. Previously, I've shown you some of my other NYCC exclusives. They were all for Wonder Woman Volume 6, the current Tom King run with Daniel Samfier. This exclusive goes back to Wonder Woman Volume 4, and they chose issue number 38 to do the exclusive on. I'm a little perplexed why they chose issue 38. Maybe last year I understood because one of the variants was for a David Finch cover that was an incentive. It was a fantastic cover, otherwise known as the Buns cover, that a lot of people didn't have. So I understand maybe doing a variant of that. But I'm not sure why they picked the same issue again here for 2025. This story is part 3, so you're coming into the third part of a story arc. David and Meredith Finch joined or became the Wonder Woman creative team a few issues before this, so it's not even their original debut into the title either. I thought maybe doing a different issue might have been a little bit better. The cover's fantastic, but not exactly sure why we have 10 variants in grand total for issue 38, 5 of which have come between NYCC 2024 and 2025. You can see some of my NYCC exclusives for this issue from last year in Comic Book Editions Volume 223. While I'm talking about this volume, and as a matter of fact, this same issue, I'll show you a second print variant that was originally released when the comic book came out in 2015. They did a David Finch sketch variant, and the second printing is a little bit of a tweak from that. What's different is they've added in and colored in the blood that you see on Diana's sword and splattering around a little bit on and around her. And the trade dress was originally red, and it's been changed to yellow. That's the easiest way to tell that you've got the second printing for this. When this book originally came out, I was not a second print collector. And I kind of grew up in that era where you thought, ooh, second print, stay away. Second prints or anything beyond that, stay away from that. Now, they become rarer because there aren't as many printed. So the completist in me has changed my mind a little bit about second prints, and slowly I'm adding some back into my collection that I missed out when they originally were released. This being one of them. You know, I also showed the second print of issue 1 from this volume 4 back in Comic Book Editions volume 262. So if you missed that, you can check that out as well. And out of the few second printings that I'm still missing, which aren't many, I'll slowly add those into my collection probably next year. That will be a bigger priority for me. I want to turn over to War of the Gods. This is issue number 2, and this is the direct version. Of course, War of the Gods was a big George Perez tie-in that he did to honor Wonder Woman for her 50th anniversary. It was the very first time that Wonder Woman was the focal point of a miniseries at DC Comics. Just recently, John's Comics with Friends A-okayed me a copy of this issue, but he got me the direct edition. I showed that in Comic Book Editions Volume 263. I mentioned then that although it's the same cover art, how different the covers look. And I figured the best way to illustrate my point is to grab that copy that John A-okayed me. Look at these next to each other. Exact same artwork. But it just looks so different. Personally, I like the newsstand version better with the art a little bit more up front and the red background behind the trade dress. I like that a little bit better myself. course, the direct edition gives you some pinups inside that the newsstand version doesn't. And in this issue, they have pinups of Lobo, the Shazam Immortals, Fire, Ice, Power Girl, and the Harpies. This 4-issue miniseries, I don't recall them doing a cover change between the direct and the newsstand that was so different, even though it's still the same art as they did with this issue. I don't know why this issue was the one that got that little tweak in it. Don't know. If you know why, leave me a comment below because I would love to know the answer to that. I wasn't done with the War of the Gods miniseries. I've also gotten issue number 4, and I absolutely love this cover. Of course, this came out in 1991, George Perez, once again. The pinups inside of this issue are Superman, Black Adam, The Flash, and Troia. So a little bit more star power for the pinups in this issue, I think. I'm missing issue number 3. Now, I have the facsimiles that were done, Wonder Woman, War of the Gods. And I have the omnibus that covers the War of the Gods, which is a much easier read if you're reading the miniseries, because without reading the tie-ins, the characters at the end of one issue have changed so much or in different places completely by the time you pick up the next issue. I'm missing issue number 3, which I'm not too worried about. These are like dollar bin books. It's just a matter of finding it inside a dollar bin somewhere, adding it to the collection, and then I'll have the original War of the Gods miniseries tied up and wrapped up. Let's show a little bit more George Perez. I just love this cover. This is Infinity Crisis issue number 3, and it was published in 2006. George Perez cover, Phil Jiminez and George Perez doing the interior art. So when you got those two together doing artwork, you know it's going to be everything you want it to be and more. Geoff Johns is the writer for this. This is a sequel to the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. At this time, you know, all of these variant covers, 2006 meaning this time, all these variant covers weren't the rage, the thing. So it was kind of odd to have an option for your covers. Or this cover, for instance, had a 50-50 split with a different cover that Jim Lee drew. And like I said, that was just a different thing back then. Covers were different. By the way, speaking of George Perez and Wonder Woman, John's Comics with Friends invited myself and JP Budget Collecting to talk the second volume of the George Perez Wonder Woman Omnibus this past Saturday on his channel, and we had a blast. I linked that in a playlist folder that's on my channel, so if you missed that conversation, tune in. It's always fun hanging out with my friends, and getting to talk Wonder Woman makes it even better for me. This is the only single floppy issue I have of Infinity Crisis, bought primarily for the cover. We had read this on a previous Fanboys Live in the retro review, so I knew that it was a good story. Let's do something a little retro for you and jump back into the Bronze Age. Green Lantern issue number 90 from volume number 2. This was published in 1976. So Green Lantern was canceled with issue 89, and then 4 years went by. They brought the title back and continued the numbering, as they did with a bunch of titles at that time. Mike Grell is the cover and interior artist, and I don't know if they've ever used this as a poster. If they haven't, complete missed opportunity. This is such a strong, stellar cover. Denny O'Neill is the writer of this. There's a little homage and a little nod to Star Trek in here. So at one point early on in the story, you see someone that really resembles Spock. And he even does a Vulcan salute in his little mini brief cameo appearance. They're not saying it's Spock. They're not saying it's a Vulcan. He's just there for you to think whatever you want to think. In this story, Hal Jordan's power ring gets an upgrade from the Guardians. He decides to come back to Earth to check on his best friend, Oliver Queen, and they end up finding a spaceship, and that's the basis of this story. I had ordered this online, and shortly after I ordered it online, I ended up finding a copy of the same issue at a half-price books, which was a nice surprise, but my copy that I ordered online was in better condition, so I was better overall from picking that one up first. Were you expecting to see some Blue Devil in today's video? Maybe, probably not. but now you have, from 1986, Blue Devil issue 31. In this story, Lucifer steals Madame Xanadu's magic book and decides to use it on BD. And, spoiler, Lucifer ends up dying. This is the last issue of Volume 1, and it was the only issue of Volume 1 that I was missing. I remember buying Blue Devil consistently. I'm not sure what attracted me to the character so much, but I liked the character. Bought all of the issues, somehow missed out on this one from 1986. Perez Cullins does the cover, Dan Mishkin is the writer, and Dan Jurgens does the interior art. But now that I have it, I can completely checkmark all those Blue Devils that I've been needing. I've been looking through at comic shows and at comic stores, the Blue Devil bins, looking for issue 31. Couldn't find it, ended up ordering a different book online, and the seller's like, hey, save on shipping, buy more books, and he had this one. So I went, ka-ching, it's time to get it, it's time to wrap up this volume, and I've done it. Another book that I combined shipping on that I decided to get as well that I've been looking for was the Justice League of America Index number 8. Now in my comic book editions number 256, I wrapped up my entire JLA haul. Couldn't believe it. This has been my year to wrap it up, although I completed it, in less than 2 years when I had a 3-year goal to do so. This index wasn't published by DC Comics. It was published by ICG, and they did a bunch of indexes for different DC comic titles like All-Star Comics, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Crisis Crossover, Doom Patrol, Hawkman, Legion of Superheroes, and Teen Titans. These books were so cool. They would show you the cover, they would give you the credits of the creative team behind it, and a little synopsis of the story. Back when these first came out, there were times that I never knew what a cover looked like until I got one of these indexes and I saw covers for the very first time. There was no internet back then. These were amazing. I had stopped collecting at the time right before this final issue came out, so that's the reason why I didn't have this. And although technically it's not a Volume 1 title and it wasn't even published by DC Comics, for me, I just needed it to be able to complete my JLA run, and I consider it definitely done with the inclusion of this. It covers Justice League of America Volume 1 issues 238 through 261, plus a few extra appearances that they made in some other titles as well. That's the contents of this final JLA index. What did you think about this Comic Book Editions Volume 265 video? Leave me your thoughts in the comments, as your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. I love reading those. You guys, my back issue of the week last week on Firestorm did over 3,000 views. You blew my mind with that. Didn't see that coming at all. Thank you so much. That excited me so much. I dropped a new back issue of the week yesterday. It is Marvel Comics, but if you still want to give it 3,000 views, I'm okay with that. If you don't, that's okay too. Man, that 3K was such a huge surprise. But talking about a Marvel comic out of my collection in the new and current back issue of the week, which is on my short, which you find every Monday morning, dropping on my YouTube channel. Getting ready to go into year 5 of doing that. Next month, in a few weeks, will be the beginning of year 5, and haven't missed a week since. Wow. Fanboys Live in the Retro Review has Gore Vidal as the special guest this upcoming Sunday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central here on my YouTube channel. Gore has picked out a fantastic holiday-themed story, really gets you in the mood for the holidays, and I'm excited about sharing that and having Gore Vidal as a special guest this weekend. So I look forward to visiting with you during the live Fanboys Live in the Retro Review show this Sunday night with Signature King Tony and myself. Marvel Comics fans, I do have a big Marvel book that I'm working on getting into the collection, so hopefully you'll see that very soon in the Comic Book Editions video. I can't wait to tell you more about that soon, trust me. Thank you for making it to the end of this Comic Book Editions Volume 265 video. I hope that you have a great week, happy, healthy, safe, and I look forward to getting the chance to visit with you again on Fanboys this weekend and my next Comic Book Editions video next week. Until then, take care and bye for now.